to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I guess we're going, everybody is present except for Karen, right? And one of our students, Amelia. Board norms: debate, commentary, and discussion are healthy and open. Listening and speaking are equally important, and both should be done with respect and consideration. Focus is on students and our schools, not politics. Assume best intentions in all discussions. I'd like to have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to have a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I'd like to make a motion to remove the D, bid RMS Cabinetry.
Okay. Can I have a second on that?
Second.
Second.
Okay.
I'd also like to, on the addendum to the personnel memorandum, 676,
Oh,
there's an
sorry.
addendum in your packet, that's okay. There is a mistake on there. It says at number 2, there's a resignation, that it's effective 4/3/26. It should be effective 6/30/26.
Great.
At the end of the school year.
Okay, so all in favor of moving the RMS Cabinetry bid out of the consent agenda? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So can I get a motion to accept the amended consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Let's talk about the RMS Cabinetry.
I was just hoping to get some more information about the size of the learning kitchen. I feel like that's a lot of money for cabinets, so I just wanted to get some more information.
So it's for the upgrading the RMS kitchen. The cabinetry, it's expanded and larger space than before to make it ADA compliant, and some of the cabinetry is adjusted for ADA compliance, which
And
probably led to the higher cost.
higher cost. Is there any comparison, since we only got one bid? Are we just going with the bid because it's the one that we got?
Yes. I will say, I didn't, so Glenn facilitated that. He's not here this evening, but I would say yes.
So, without having a comparison, I find it a little worrisome that spending $65,000 on cabinets. I mean, I know ADA compliant is totally important, and I still don't really have an idea of like how many cabinets they are.
Okay.
To know if $65,000 is reasonable for cabinet replacement.
Okay.
I don't know how anybody else feels.
I am, can I?
Yes.
I am, as you are, tangential to construction.
Tangential.
Yeah.
Tangential.
Tangential, being married to builders, right, so.
Or just one.
I mean, we are respectively married to builders. Married to multiple builders.
That's a problem.
Like,
Support
I
you.
want to get out. I want to get out.
Rumors.
You know, we don't know the,
You can have Glenn come back at the next meeting if you'd like to go through some more of the specifics of the remodel, if you'd like, if that would make you feel more comfortable.
Could I make a motion to table that bid until, or did you want to
I
continue?
wasn't quite done, you know,
Okay.
so I was just gonna say that I thought it was reasonable, but we can certainly,
You thought it was reasonable?
yeah. But I just think there
Because
is,
you are tangential as well.
that's what I mean, yeah, so
Yeah. We are married to builders. Yeah.
we are both married to builders, so, yeah. But
Charlene
Yeah.
Herb has got,
Yes, Herb.
Do we know how many feet of cabinetry are involved here?
I don't.
Yeah. So I'd be in favor of tabling it also then.
so I make a motion to table that bid for the June meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
nay.
One. Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, on to public input. Any public input?
We did not have any public input.
Okay.
Nobody signed up.
All right. Student representative report.
From Rutland Intermediate School, RIS's talent show showcased the creativity, hard work, and confidence of our school community with performances ranging from music, dance, to spoken word and theatrical acts. It was a vibrant and inclusive celebration. RIS was honored to host Mayor Donahue, Fire Chief Bride, Superintendent Pam Reed, and Officer LaGuardia, who all spoke about the importance of empathy in their roles in our recent assembly. Their presentations offered students a meaningful perspective on leadership, responsibility, and compassion, reinforcing the social and emotional skills we strive to cultivate through our school. Please join us for Show Your Work Night on May 19th at 5 p.m. from artwork to classwork and everything in between. And please check out the most recent episode of Spotlight on schools featuring the EPIC program and community partners. From Northeast Primary School is incredibly grateful to the combined RCPS and GE volunteer team of nearly 40 individuals who assisted with the demolition of our old playground on April 10th. In April, we were honored to welcome Mayor Donahue to our April Pause Character Trait Assembly, where he spoke with students about integrity and positive citizenship. We are proud to share that Mrs. Kamick, first grade teacher, has been selected as the recipient of the Vermont Council on Literacy Lyman C. Hunt Literacy Award and will be recognized on June 6th. Looking ahead, we are excited to welcome incoming kindergarten students and families for kindergarten screening on May 18th and our kindergarten meet and greet on June 3rd. We also look forward to installing our new playground on May 29th and 30th and are currently seeking volunteers to assist with the project. Stay tuned for more updates via Facebook. From Northwest, at Northwest School, students spent the month of April learning about what it means to persevere, and we celebrated our outstanding Star Students of the Month who consistently demonstrated this important character trait. Last week, we also celebrated Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week. We would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to all of our staff members who show up each and every day to support our students. The dedication, care, and commitment of every member of the Northwest team make a tremendous impact on our school community. From Stafford Technical Center, on Friday, May 22nd, we will be holding our last Student of the Marking Period Assembly of the school year, where we will recognize students from each program and academic area. The assembly will be held in the RHS Theater at 10:30 a.m. Immediately following the assembly, students and staff are invited to the back parking lot to attend our annual Rave Student Car Show. Members of the Rutland area vehicle enthusiasts bring their cars and invite students to bring theirs too. Our Auto Tech program hosts a barbecue, and spectators are able to vote on their favorite cars, and the winners receive a trophy created by our welding and metal fabrication and engineering programs. At 12:30 p.m., we will also have a ribbon-cutting ceremony recognizing the newly renovated garage and announcing that we have been approved to be an official Vermont State Inspection Station. You are more than welcome to swing by for this fun event. Our senior award ceremony will be held on Friday, May 29th at 12 p.m. The ceremony will take place in the RHS Gymnasium, and we would love for you to join us for that as well. And from Rutland Middle School, we are gearing up for Yes Plan. Our teachers created many great options for our students. We are excited to have 6th grade join us for this opportunity for the second year in a row. This provides strong support for the transition from 6th to 7th grade. We will celebrate our 8th graders moving on to high school with a school-wide clap out on June 20th.
Thank you. Let's go to the audit update with Ted Manos. Tim Smith.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you very much for the opportunity tonight to provide you with an update on the most recently completed audit, which was for the fiscal year 2025, ending last June 30th. So the audit was completed and submitted on schedule in March of this year to the Federal Audit Clearinghouse, as is required every year. In a moment, Tim Smith, our District Controller, is going to provide a brief overview, and then we're going to ask Mr. Rick Brigham of Sullivan Powers to present his annual report to you virtually. Thank you for joining us, Rick. And Rick will...
Thanks for having me.
Rick will also answer questions. So Rick's report will be inclusive of the 3 documents that were included in your board package for this meeting, which included a schedule of findings for the fiscal year, an independent audit report, and an audit governance letter. As you might know, Sullivan & Powers and Company has been the district's auditor for several years. Rick Brigham has been the partner in charge for each of these audits, so Rick is very familiar with district fiscal operations and results, and also with the district's system of internal and management controls. Rick joined Sullivan Powers 41 years ago. Hard to believe, isn't it, Rick? Back in 1985.
Don't even say that out loud.
And he's been a partner in the firm for 31 years, which I do mention because obviously Rick brings a valuable wealth of experience to this work on behalf of the district. And of course, Rick is also a member of the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Vermont Society of CPAs. Perhaps the single most important point that I can convey to you tonight, to the board, is the exceptional level of professional trust that has been established between Rutland City Public Schools and Sullivan Powers. Rutland City Public Schools trusts that Sullivan Powers will always be very thorough and also practical in its approach and recommendations. I hope that Rick will also tell you that Sullivan Powers trusts that Rutland City Public Schools will always be transparent and responsive to all of their audit requests. And for that, we're very grateful. One last point of interest, a successful annual audit is much more than gathering data during field work, performing analysis, and then writing a report of findings and recommendations. A successful audit also involves professional teamwork to vet the fiscal operation and results and to identify areas for continuous improvement. That, of course, demands complete auditor independence, but also a collaborative approach. I believe that we have both, as I hope you're going to hear tonight. So with that, let me turn it over to Tim for a few observations and then to Rick.
Thank you, Ted. For the new board members who I haven't met, Brandy and Herb, I just wanted to offer a quick introduction. As Ted mentioned, my name is Tim Smith. I'm the accounting controller. I've been with the district just over 3 years. I am a CPA, and prior to joining the school district, I worked for a local public accounting firm doing audit and tax work for individual, corporate, and nonprofit clients. I don't have much to add. I'll turn it over to Rick, but I just want to, again, echo what Ted had mentioned. You know, the audit really just isn't a moment of time that happens over a few weeks in the fall and winter. It's a process of continual improvement throughout the year, you know, constantly looking for ways to improve our internal controls, constantly looking for ways to ensure accounting integrity of our balance sheet accounts, constantly monitoring trends that we see in our expenditure and revenue budget. So it's an ongoing process throughout the year, and it's certainly not something that just myself and Ted play part to. It requires the entire business office team to kind of keep us in line, and to a greater extent, the entire district. You know, we have lots of, you know, all the secretaries and administrative professionals that we have out in the building, principals, they're all part of the greater control environment that we try to maintain and improve upon here in the district. So with that, Rick, I'll turn it over to you. You're on TV, you can be heard, no problem, and we've got the board in front of you, so thank you for joining us.
Perfect. Thanks for having me here, everybody. So as Tim and Ted mentioned, there's a 74-page report in front of you. A lot of information in there. Obviously, a lot of it's financial. Tonight, I'm probably not going to go much into the finances of it, only because a lot of that stuff's over 10 months old at this point. So what I'm mostly going to focus on is the process and the results. The 74-page report is kind of a combination of everything. It's really the responsibility of the management and the finance team to put all the information together to get to that report. My job as your auditor is basically pages 1 through 4 of that large document. It's what we've referred to as the auditor's opinion. So when you have an audit opinion, you basically have 3 choices. You can have an adverse opinion, meaning the financial statements are not fairly stated. You can have a qualified opinion, meaning the financial statements are fairly stated except for something or some things. And the best you can have is an unqualified audit report. And I'm pleased to report that the Rutland Schools achieved an unqualified audit opinion once again. I believe that's their third or fourth year in a row where they've had an unqualified report. And I always like to congratulate my clients who get to that. I have a lot of clients who aren't there yet, are working towards it. But again, the team there has worked so hard over the last 4 years under Ted and Tim's direction. A lot of improvements were made over those first couple of years, and they've steadily been even getting better and better. So I was really thankful to them for all the work they put into it in the preparation. Also, one of the requirements is as your auditor is if we know any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies during the course of an audit, that we need to report them to the board. I'm also pleased to report that we did not find any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses that we needed to report, that needed to be included in the report. Obviously, during the course of the audit, as Tim and Ted mentioned, there'll be communications back and forth, ideas of how to do something different and things like that, but none of them rose to the level of material weakness or significant deficiencies. It's just things that we noticed, things that they noticed, and those discussions that happened throughout the year. Other required communications, we had no difficulties in dealing with staff or management there. We had no disagreements with staff or management. There were no consultations with other auditors, and all the entries we proposed were posted by management. Like I said, there's a lot of information in that report. If you want to go through it, there's some footnotes, pages 13 through 56, a lot of detailed information in there about capitalization, what your debt terms are, what your debt balances are, all the information related to retirement, the two retirement items. And so if you're looking for a deeper dive, that information's in there. But overall, from my perspective, my communication tonight was just letting you know that the report went really well, the process went really well, and Tim especially did an excellent job in organizing, getting everything ready for the audit. We were significantly ahead of schedule when Tim put everything together, and unfortunately I had a couple things that happened here that put me a couple weeks behind. So my goal, as I've communicated to Tim, the rest of the finance team, is hopefully to get that report out probably even earlier this year. We obviously made the deadline, but my goal would be to get it out in January or February, well ahead of the March deadline. So, but again, that was on me. Tim and Ted were perfectly ready for me when we went in to do our field work. So, does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. On the supplementary information, the required supplementary information, there's a comment about omitting some sort of management report. Is that?
Yes, so yeah, that's a great question. So one of the things we talked about as the process has been going for the last few years and getting everything done for the Rutland schools, one of the things we talked about with the finance team as we were doing our exit conference and doing our review of reports was this year or next year actually putting in a required supplement information related to the management discussion and analysis. Basically, the management discussion analysis is like a 8 or 10 page summary of what happened in the audit report for the year. In layman's terms, user-friendly, it's a great thing to have in your report. So what we discussed is including it next year, and we're going to give some examples over the summer of MD&As that you can use to put into the report, so that omission statement will be out of the report next year.
Gotcha. Any other questions?
If I could just speak to your question, Charlene. Yes, the MD&A, management's discussion and analysis. Rick, you said 8 to 10 pages. I was kind of hoping to keep it to 4 to 6, but
again, it's really going to be up to you. It's your document, but there are certain requirements of things that have to be in there.
Yeah.
And we'll certainly go over all that with you. So yeah, we can certainly make it as adapted to whatever you want it to be. So.
I've got some templates, Charlene, and I've started my work on drafting that MD&A, and the intention is to have it be part of the 2026 audit report.
Great.
Rick, just a follow-up question, maybe to add a little bit of context to the audience here. I do know on the schedule of findings, it mentions that the auditee, us, did qualify as a low-risk auditee. So I'm just wondering if you can explain to the group what that means to be considered a low-risk auditee and how one would attain that status.
So what that means is there's certain qualifications you have to meet, and it's based on the federal single audit. So that, to be a low-risk auditee means you would have less testing that would have to be done over the next year to, so like you were required to test 40% of the programs if you're not a low-risk auditee, and you're only required to test 25%. So that basically means there are no reportable conditions, there are no material weaknesses, there are no compliance findings. You have to hit all those items as well as filing your reports on time to achieve that low-risk oddity status.
And Rick, my understanding is that you have to hit those conditions for several years consecutively. It's not just 1 year.
Correct.
And then
And
how
we have
long
now
does it?
satisfied that.
Yeah, and then how long does it stay, that status?
I think it's 2 years. I think it's 2 years is what the requirement says. So.
Gotcha.
But it's going to be at least 20 or 30.
I don't believe the entire group, or I don't believe the group received the entire audit report, all 78 pages or whatnot. It is a public document. Any municipality, any school district, those audit reports are filed with the Federal Audit Clearinghouse, fac.org, or please reach out to Pam, and I could provide anybody a copy of the full audit report. I encourage you to look through that and come up with some questions, and myself and Ted would be happy to look into those questions and get you some answers on a timely basis.
What was that website that?
fac.org.
For Federal Audit Clearinghouse.
Thank you.
But we would be happy to
Right.
provide a copy for
I would
you.
like
That might be easier, but it's up to you.
Can you just, I would like one. Can you just email us?
Sure,
Would that be easiest?
we can do that.
Then
I'll have Pam set, Pam will
Please.
email it to you,
Thanks.
if she's okay with that.
Sure.
Just to alleviate the bombardments, so just email it to us and we can
So
choose to
Rick,
read it or not.
So Rick, we're on the hook now. We have lots of people who've heard us say we're going to finish the audit early this next time around, so.
I know.
I love that.
I'll make sure it happens.
Give us extra time to do the MD&A.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank
All right,
you,
thank
Rick.
you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of your meeting.
Take
Thank
good
you.
care. Thank you, Tim. Excuse
Thank you both.
Your excuse.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just, Glenn Scott did come in to answer any questions about the cabinetry, so that way if we want to. The thing is that if we don't approve it tonight, it slows down the construction, which we want to do when school is not in session. If we don't have that approved tonight, then we won't be able to do the construction project this summer. So I texted Glenn. Glenn came in. If you want to, at any point you want to shift to that.
Okay. You want to come up now? Sure. All right. All right, so Glenn is going to speak to.
Hi, Glenn.
Hi there, how's everybody? So it's so interesting, I was at the middle school taking pictures of this kitchen and talking to the custodian. And I was at the middle school, I was up on the roof taking a picture of a roof that we're gonna replace. It was a good time of day to do it, and then I was in the kitchen taking a picture of the before of this particular kitchen, so. And that's when Pam texted me. I apologize, I was not here, but lesson learned with our new format. If I have something in the consent agenda, I will be here in the future, because I know these are big spends and big projects. So the kitchen, at one point, in I guess the 1980s and 70s, this was a four-station kitchen, so there were 4 sinks, 4 ranges, 4 dishwashers, and this was sort of what they called home ec back in the day. During COVID, because we were trying to find, actually it was my first summer on board, we took out 2 of the kitchens and we just moved the wall to add some additional classroom space. These kitchens these current cabinets are like the, 1980 version, I think, or maybe they're a little older, so they're pretty smelly and they're older. But what you'll see here now is we're moving the wall back, and thanks to our maintenance folks, they were able to, without disassembling the wall, they moved the Great Wall back 6 feet, and now we're back to a bigger footprint, but also Megan and team have a bigger motor room on the other side, which they use. So this is basically, we've gutted all the current cabinets now. And you'll see there's basically 2 stations that are expandable. One side, one addition is that we make one side completely ADA accessible, so the left side is, if you're looking at the paper, is all roll under for any students that, in lower ADA style cabinets. And then the back side all gets new storage cabinets. So you basically have a bigger space and all new cabinetry on 3. So if you look at it in terms of by kitchen, $30,000 usually gets you 1 kitchen remodel. We're kind of doing 2 and 2.5 or so. And then I think there was, what other, any questions about that? And I say thank you for bringing me back, because as Pam mentioned, it's about a 5-week lead time to get these, so we're hoping to get a purchase order in. If you decide to approve tonight, I can get a requisition and we can get them ordered and then meet our timeline. We are going to, the project starts by removing all the asbestos tile in there, and so that will be the first project we start this summer on June 22nd, and then new flooring, and then the cabinetries come in, so. Thank you. Any questions? Kathy?
This is way larger than I imagined, for sure. And thank you for coming back in.
Absolutely.
I was the one who asked the question, so I apologize
Oh,
for making
absolutely.
you come back in. So it's just the cabinetry?
Correct.
This bid is just for the cabinetry, so the counters are going to be?
I apologize. I should have clarified that in the quote. It's counters and cabinetry.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's
different.
Non-appliances, I assume.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm redrafting the letter in my mind, thinking I probably should have added that word, so thanks for.
Thank you. Okay.
So there's cabinetry here in the middle, or not cabinetry, countertops, obviously in the middle here, a little bit in the back, and then nothing on the back wall.
Yeah, the back wall is just storage. We do own, all the appliances are currently owned, and they're newer. They're like,
Oh, but there is a
2 years old.
countertop in the back wall there.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's right.
Next to the washer dryer along there.
We've had like 3 iterations, so there's some wall to wall on the right side. Thank you.
Herb?
Does this include the tile, or is that extra? You said you're replacing the floor.
The tile is an extra, is not included in this. The floor tile is not included.
When you, sorry. When we had first started talking about this, was this kind of like where you thought the price was going to come in?
This is, yeah, sorry.
I don't remember the exact dollar amount that we've talked about, over several meetings in regards to this particular project, but where are we in regards to you thinking we're still going to be on target with what your original was, which I don't remember?
Yeah, I think
something?
our original, and this was a project we had in conversations of, and we were going to try to squeeze in last summer.
Right.
And the quote then was, I think, around 60. But after conversations with Pam and Bianca, we thought we paused it for this year. We had so much last year we paused it. So we're fitting it in. So I think just by inflation alone, it's a couple, percent higher.
So we're still kind of roughly where you think we should be?
Yep.
And what other, so we have this big cost. What other big cost are we going to have coming forward?
With this project, so the asbestos mitigation and the floor tile, and the rest of it is just drywall, which will come out of our maintenance budget. But those costs, I think it was, this space, it's 1,250 square feet, and so I think it was like around 9,000 for the mitigation. And basically what they do is they go in and grind all that up and contain it with HEPA back and filters. And then the floor tile is around the same, so I think it's another 9,000 for flooring. But then that's it. That's no other cost. No appliances, as I said. The sinks and things like that we'll just buy out. It come out of the maintenance budget. We'll have some drywall patches and painting that need to be done. So, yeah.
I make a motion to approve the bid.
So moved.
Just a suggestion, parliamentary thing. I think the first thing we need is a motion to take that item off the table so we can vote on it.
Thank you.
So I move that we take that item off the table.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye. And now I make a motion to approve the bid for the cabinetry.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks, Glenn.
Look forward to seeing you.
See you.
See you next
That's
month.
your dad jokes.
I know.
Okay, we have technology report. Tricia.
Thank you for having us this evening. My name is Patricia Agner, and I serve as your technology director. And
I'm Dan Roswell, I'm the Senior Network Administrator.
so this evening, we did a little thought experiment in our report, and we were thinking about how do we systemically align to the strategic plan and the portrait of a graduate in our work. And I know the superintendent is encouraging us to think about our work very differently, so this was our effort to do so. So you'll see that the title is Powering the Portrait, and you'll see throughout the report a few things. So before I tell you more about that, though, one of the things we discussed is how does our work in technology act as an engine to produce those traits in the portrait of a graduate? So that happens in several ways, but there are traits like adaptability, collaboration, communication, critical thinking, wellness, and other things. So how does our work connect to that and help produce it? The other thing we talked about is when you think about the strategic plan, those three areas. So as we work our way through the report, one of the things you'll see is that up in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see those priority areas. And then over on the right, you'll see the traits from a portrait of a graduate. And then throughout the report we shared with you, the other thing you're going to see are things like milestones and updates and then outcomes. And for us, outcomes are two things. Sometimes they're educational and sometimes they're technical or measurable outcomes. And honestly, we could have given you a 60-page report, you know, when we talk about technology, but we wanted to keep it really simple for you. And then when we talk about measuring things, we talk about fidelity. So, you know, are we implementing things, you know, the way that we intended to? Effectiveness, and then the impact. So tonight, rather than go through this whole report, which I hope you enjoyed very much, I would like Dan and I to start the evening on page 6, because we have 3 specific things we want to talk to you about tonight. One is cybersecurity, one is wiring, and one is the phone project.
It's all mine? All right, here we
all
go.
yours, Dan.
So we want to talk tonight about cybersecurity and the dramatic increase and higher effectiveness at getting through our systems in the past year or so. We currently have high-quality training for our staff. We have industry-leading software and endpoint protection, and we have a litany of formal policies in place to help protect our environment. Despite this, we are seeing bad actors attacking our district on various levels at much higher rates than we have seen in the past. Our staff continues to experience difficulty determining whether emails are legitimate, files are legitimate, or not, and security incidents are very much on the rise right now. One bad click can cost our team 20 to 100 hours of mitigation recovery, and it basically encompasses the whole team. So when there's an incident, our entire team has to respond, and it's taking several days to do so. These events are happening on off hours and on the weekends, several times a month, resulting in our team not being able to perform their normal job duties. This is dramatically increasing our response time on some of our tickets and preventing regular maintenance, slowing down our ongoing projects. The rate of occurrence is high enough at this point that we're operating more in a reactive mode than we prefer to be doing. So we're just here to let our administration, our board know we are looking for internal and external staff, consulting options, and other resources to help manage this continued threat to our infrastructure. This is happening everywhere. We're not alone in what's happening here. And we're not seeing a cohesive or tangible response at the state or federal level, especially for educational institutions. So that is something on our radar. We are working diligently to have it. The past year has been incredibly challenging for our team. So we're going to keep you apprised of any progress we make in that area. We have two major projects, a multi-year phone system upgrade and a large data cabling project. We haven't replaced our cabling for our data system in some buildings for 30 years. So there's, I think, 300,000 feet of wire that have to go into the buildings.
Wow.
So we did go to bid. We have several vendors that bid. We selected one, and we had a kickoff meeting for them, and they're going to be bringing in 30 pallets of wire to the buildings for this summer.
So you'll see it right there. On slide 10, you'll see what that looks like. And when we think about improving our wiring, it impacts everything, and that gets us back to our strategic plan. So it impacts instruction, business. It's going to impact everything we do, actually. So having improved wiring allows us to build for the future, which is really what we need to do. And then the other piece that I think is really interesting is the telephone project. So, Dan, it was 2,190 Cat 6A cables.
Yep.
You were so close. Did you say that?
300,000 feet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yep.
300,000 feet. Ooh, that's a lot of cable.
It's a lot of cable.
That's a lot of cables. So then if you look on page 12 in the report, you'll see a little update on the telephone project. And this is going to be fascinating. So our current telephone system is very, very outdated. And so, when we think about results, one of the things we want to do is make it easier for us to connect with our stakeholders, like parents. So the exciting thing as we're meeting with vendors, and as Dan mentioned, we have multiple vendors we're meeting with. We're looking at how we can help staff become more responsive. And as we're meeting with these vendors, one of the things that excites me is that calls go to email. So that means that you don't necessarily have to check your voicemail. It's going to simplify things for very busy teachers. So one of our goals is to make it easier for teachers to connect with households. And so that type of project is going to do that. The tricky thing about this project is that it's multi-year.
Yep.
So we can't possibly get it all done in 1 year.
Yep.
So the challenge for us is that we're going to have two phone systems running at once, because we never like to keep things dull in our department. We like a lot of excitement. So between cybersecurity and phones and cabling,
We're not bored.
we're not bored at all. So I wanted to share that with you, because the outcomes at first are not going to be terrific when you have two phone systems running at the same time, but we're going to push through it and get it done in 2 years. So that's everything we wanted to share with you this evening and updates, and we appreciate you taking the time to meet with us tonight. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
I think that covers it. If they've got any questions.
I got one from a dinosaur here. What is scalable software?
Scalable software, if you have 10,000 or 100,000 clients attached, it can meet the demands of whatever size that is. So some smaller software companies can't scale. You probably had a phone app or an app on your computer that it got popular all of a sudden and it crashed because it can't scale outward.
Oh, great question. Everybody good? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just underscore, I put in my superintendent's report to thank the IT department for all the work that they've been doing related to cybersecurity, especially because I have to say that it is draining on their time. And it takes an incredible expertise to be able to get us back online after everything has to be shut down in order for them to clean up the risk and then to bring us back on. So thank you to you and your team.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I wish it was faster. But.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Stafford Comprehensive Local Needs Assessment presentation is next.
I have to say, the entire IT department walked into my office yesterday, and I said, oh my God, what did I click on?
I saw them all in her office and I walked the other way.
But I would have too. So good evening. My name is Melissa Connor. I am the director at Stafford Technical Center.
And I'm Kate Bosnich, the assistant director at Stafford Technical Center.
So every 2 years, because we are a recipient of federal grants, particularly the Carl D. Perkins Grant, we are required to complete what's called a comprehensive local needs assessment. So you only have to hear this every 2 years. It is, Pam asked with the new governance policy if we could kind of shorten it or perhaps just have it presented to the RAB. Unfortunately, the federal government requires that we present this not only to our regional advisory board, but also to our governing board that votes on our budget. And we are provided with the information that we have to include, and I have to provide documentation that we presented all of it to you. So I do apologize. We'll try to be as succinct as we possibly can. So a little bit about the background. There are 6 required components of what we refer to as the CLNA, and you'll see them up on the screen. And what Kate and I are going to do is to go through each of those with you, a very high-level overview just to give you a process. This is a process that begins before school even starts. And it is something that our staff works on the entire school year. We just wrapped up the process. It is a self-reflective process on how we are doing as a school. We are required by federal law to reach out to stakeholders and get stakeholder input. And then we have to have what's called a CLNA review team, which is comprised, we created it through our program committee, which is part of our regional advisory board. And that is comprised of superintendents, school board members, parents, staff members, business partners, so that we try to reach all of those stakeholder groups. So we're going to quickly, as much as we can, and there's a lot of data. And so we started this process back in FY21. That's when Perkins 5 went into effect. And so there are 9 different student accountability areas that we have to report to and show improvement on each and every year in order to continue receiving federal funding. So listed here is basically our progress from FY21, and this is all through FY25, so last year's data. One thing I do want to point out, it should be noted, that 2/3 of our student population is new every year. So unlike a typical high school or a school which is tracking a grade as they move from grade to grade, we are comparing apples and oranges each and every year, 2/3 of our fruit basket, if you will. So we really have to keep that in mind. So if you could just focus on the last column, the FY21 to FY25 growth, where there is the green and the red. We have continuously, even with these different students, continuously grown in each of those areas over time. The one area that we have not seen growth in is science, and I think there are a couple of factors for that. One is we do not have a science instructor on staff, whereas we have every other academic area. And also, this score is based on the science assessment that students take back at their high school. And in the past, a lot of students have basically skipped that test so that they could get on the bus and come to Stafford or go to work-based learning because they did not want to miss those opportunities. So we partnered with all but Rutland High School, because they're on our campus, to have the science assessment for all of our partner schools at Stafford on one day this year. And the high school principals were really happy with that. And they saw much higher increase in attendance at those, so we're hoping that that will make a difference in the scores. And as you'll see later, there's also an indication that perhaps we should consider a science instructor to help with that as well. So that was looking at it as a school. We also then have to dive down and we have to look at each of those 9 negotiated targets by program area. And so each of the programs for those same 9 areas are listed above. I'll quickly give you an overview of what the color coding means. When you see something that is yellow, that means that a particular program did not reach within 90% of our negotiated rate. So what's the negotiated rate? Each year, I get to have a lovely meeting with the Vermont Agency of Education where we have to negotiate our targets based on where we think that we could potentially grow in that area. We cannot remain flat. We have to constantly be on a growth model. And so in these cases, the different programs did not meet those areas within that 90%, and some were significantly lower than what we had projected. and as far as our targets. And so what we do in that area is that we send our academic instructors in for targeted work with those programs, and we have really moved to a model of integrated academics. So our program teachers and our academic teachers are working together to seamlessly integrate academics into the programs, because we find that our students are much more engaged with their academics when it relates to something that they are passionate about. When you look at the blue highlights, that means as a center we did not reach our target, and this is in the area of non-traditional program concentrators. And what is that, you might ask? If you think of an auto tech or a welding program, traditionally it is male students that are predominantly in that program. So this is basically, we did not have enough females enrolled in that program in the FY25 school district, or school year, sorry. And for programs like health careers, we did not have enough males. And so as a center, we have to come up with a plan on how we are going to address that in our new Perkins plan. In the other ones, where is green, for industry recognized credentials, which are given by an outside organization certifying our students' skills, any program that has green, the AOE requires that students earn an industry recognized credential. So they're looking at the percentage of students. If it is purple, it means that college credit is required to be part of that program, meaning that our teachers have to become adjunct professors with a college or university and actually embed that college curriculum within our program. And if it is, I wrote blue, but it's obviously red. I was tired, I think, when I did this. So the red highlight, that is basically that they can offer a combination of the two. And so you'll see kind of the areas we have. Our goal as a center has been to be offering both of those in all the programs, so we have been making improvements in those areas as well. The next drill down that we have to do is we also have to look at not only by program, but by special populations category. And so when we talk about special populations, we're not just talking about students on educational plans. We're talking about those non-traditional students. We're talking about homeless students, economically disadvantaged students, and you can see the list there. So again, the yellow means that in certain categories, we did not meet that 90% of our target rate. So we have to, in our plan, address those areas. And then again, blue, non-traditional, we did not meet that as a center. So again, we not only had to present strategies on how we're going to achieve this as a center, but by program and by each special population category. So, next slide. The next area that we have to look at is we have to do a comprehensive labor market analysis, and we have to prove each year that, or every 2 years, that our programs are meeting the industry needs of not only our region and our state. And so we're very fortunate that Wendy Morse with the Vermont Department of Labor is on our regional advisory board, and she really helps us with this a lot. And so there are 2 recommended data points that we use, or data sources, I should say. The Vermont Most Promising Careers brochure that is put out by the McClure Foundation, as well as the Vermont Department of Labor's LMI Index. And so we go through a process as a faculty where we are reviewing. So each of the faculty, they take their program area, they look at a cluster of careers. So they select different careers, lower end, middle, and high end careers. And then they look, what are we looking for? We're looking to make sure that there is growth. They do not tell us a percentage of growth, but that there is growth in that career field. We're looking to see what the educational levels are, that it's something more than just a high school diploma, that there is additional training required. And then we have to look at what the median hourly wage is. And this year, the median hourly wage that they're saying, which makes a livable wage in Vermont, is $23.94. And that was based on a study done by MIT's education and their labor force department. So we look at all of that, and we were fortunate that in looking at that, all of our programs are meeting those requirements. So we check those boxes. The final thing on this slide that I just want to point out is when we looked at the previous slides around our ELA and our math scores, the Vermont Agency of Education uses the ACT Work Keys assessments as kind of our test that we have to use. And the Vermont Agency of Education has said that in order for a student to be deemed proficient, they have to score at least a 5, which is a gold level certification. When you look at the ACT job profiles, which they have for every job that you can imagine, it's thousands and thousands of jobs out there. What they have done is they have worked with employers in ACT, and they've looked at, for a middle-level worker in whatever career it might be, what are the scores they need to achieve on these ACT assessments, the work keys, in order to be successful. And so those last 3 columns, those are the scores that they're saying. So Vermont is really pushing our students in many cases to be above and beyond, because as you see, there's many careers. And so with that, about 75% of our students are deemed proficient in their career field that they have chosen to study at Stafford. So we're really proud of that. We continue to push them to get to that 5 to beat the state proficiency, but we feel confident that the students that are earning these credentials, earning the college credits, they will be prepared to go into those career fields.
Is the Vermont Department of Labor information just not out for 2025?
This is the most current that they have, yes. When we did this a couple of years ago, because of COVID, we were working with data that was 4 years old. So I felt good that it was actually just only a year or so. So the other thing as we look through the labor market information is really think about areas that we may need to possibly expand to. What are areas that the labor market information is showing that we really have a need for? The other thing that we kind of cross-reference that is we're required to survey any high school student that chose not to attend career and tech ed in our region. And so we've done that through Google surveys in the past, and it wasn't quite as successful. We got a really low return rate. And so I partnered with all of our high school principals this year, and I said, what would work? Because we need this data. This is really important information for us so that we can kind of move forward with our school. And they said, if you'll do paper surveys, we will make sure that they get out at advisories or flexes. And so we had probably about an 80% return rate on these surveys from our high school partners, and I can't thank the principals enough for making that happen. And then, as you can imagine, when you have that many paper surveys, there was a lot of tabulating. So we had one day where I just said, anyone that has this time free, come to my office, we'll sit around. And I had probably about a dozen staff members show up to my office, and we had it tabulated within an hour. So it was a phenomenal team effort. So cross-referencing the LMI data and then those students, these are the 3 areas that came out on top. Business, which as a former business teacher for 20 plus years, that just made my heart very happy. I joked with Pam that maybe I'll go back into being a teacher and for my last few years of education.
It's a real funny joke.
No. That's a bad joke. That's a very bad joke.
No one's laughing. It's a terrible idea.
Dental hygienists and then diesel mechanics. And so those are things that we talked about with the CLNA review team about different areas. One of the concerning factors, you may have heard that there's governance conversations around career and tech ed. So it's really hard to make some kind of concrete decisions on directions we go when we don't know what our governance structure might look like in the next couple of years. And part of that conversation is kind of reallocating where programs are located based on community need. So our thought process was it would be really unfortunate if we invested a lot of time, energy, and financial energy into a new program for then a consolidation to happen, and then they say, oh, we don't need that program in Rutland any longer. So we decided it best to be kind of hold and wait and see what happens with that governance. But these are 3 great areas that are definitely needed in this area. And business was really looking at accounting, controlling, and there was some interest in marketing. So that's kind of the range there.
I just want to second the dental hygienist.
Yes. Yes.
As well.
I think, yes, absolutely. And then the next area is really looking at the size, scope, and quality of our programs. And so this is really what it comes down to is compliance and making sure that we are doing everything that the state requires us. So again, I'm not going to go through all of the data, but it's looking at, do we have at least 8 full-time students in each of our programs on a 6-semester average, because basically if students are not signing up for your program, why are we funding the program is what they're looking at. And then they're looking at, do we have the necessary safety credentials, which obviously at Stafford are very important. So there are state required ones that have to be done within the first 60 days of the school year in order to make sure students are safe. And then it gets into a little bit of curriculum. Are we using the proficiencies as outlined by the AOE? Do we have proper assessment tools in place? And then looking at, are we having up-to-date equipment, technology? It gets back into our instructors. Are they receiving the appropriate professional development? And so all of this information came from conversations between our program instructors and their program advisory committee members, which are made up of business partners in their field that we meet with twice a year. And so there. And then the color coding, again, that's around those post-secondary credentials, the college credits, and the IRCs, showing you, again, what's required. As I mentioned, our goal is to make sure that every program in the next couple of years is offering both, because students never know what they might do 5 years down the road, and they might decide that they want to go to college and have some transcripted credits. And all of the credits that students earn are free through the voucher program through CTE and their high school. So we have some students leaving with up to 18 college credits. So a semester worth of college free of charge. And then this, we're just going to quickly go through. I just wanted to show, in case you're interested, for each program, the requirement of what they're required to have. There are some very specific certifications, and then what we are offer. We are meeting them above and beyond the requirements, and we can just go through those slides. I just wanted to put that in there so that you could see how much work is happening at the center. The next, yes?
Question on that.
Sure.
We have the requirement column and the what we offer column. Is what we offer in addition to the requirement?
No, this is basically meeting the requirements and above. So it includes the requirements plus additional areas.
Well, like, for example, on the first one, ASC entry-level certification.
Yes.
Why isn't that also under what we offer?
It's for the mechanical and electrical, so that's the last one listed.
Looking at auto body and repair, for example.
Yep, so it's the entry-level certification in mechanical and electrical. So if you look at the what we offer, it's the last one listed. And then they have to offer 2 additional ones. So they have to offer, so the mechanical and electrical ASE is something that we offer, and that's a requirement. And then they have to offer 2 additional ASE certifications. And in this case, we are offering an additional 4.
We good?
I'm still confused.
I think it's because it doesn't say entry level on the
It doesn't
list.
say entry level, those
What I
are
don't
all
understand
entry level
is why I
ones.
don't see the same words in both columns.
This is what we're required.
Right.
And so if you look,
We do this, and this is over and above.
Right, but how come these words aren't also over there? And I guess the answer is, for this example, ASC mechanical and electrical includes entry level, so forth and so on, right?
so all of the ones that are listed in what we offer are all considered entry-level certifications, and then those are the specific field areas in which. So mechanical and electrical is that last one. So when the AOE says every student has to have that mechanical and electrical at the entry level, so we offer that one plus and you have to add 2 more, so we have 4 more.
I think it's the
If you
word
look at
entry
the wording,
level is on
right.
This is what the requirement.
Entry level is on the.
For auto body and repair, an entry-level certification means you have to have mechanical and electrical and 2 other of these. And we offer 4 to choose from.
Right, I guess I'm just being overly literal. My problem was I couldn't figure out why what we offered didn't include exactly the same words
Gotcha.
that were in the requirement. But
Gotcha.
I think I understand it now.
Okay, perfect. And I'm happy to talk to you about it after if you'd like. So again, so those are what we're offering. The program of study analysis, there are 89 areas of analysis that we have to do for each of these programs. And as you can imagine, that it takes time. And listed bulleted there are all the areas that we have to focus on. So it's not only curriculum, it's looking at our staff. Are they prepared? Are they licensed in the appropriate areas? We're looking at access and equity. We're looking at technology. We're looking at work-based learning opportunities, and so on. So again, I'm not going to go through every one of them, but I wanted to show you the process. And Pam and Stephanie sit on the CLNA review team, so they can talk about, if they wanted to, the process that we go through, because they got to look at all of this in great detail. So on the next slide, basically, we do a process of where, again, our program instructors work with their program advisory committees, and they make the determination as to whether, as a committee, they feel that we are meeting. So if it's green, we are meeting. If it is yellow, it is in progress, and if it is red, we are not meeting it. When we did this 2 years ago, there was a lot of red, and so we have made a lot of progress. And so you'll notice on the yellows, what we tried to do is note what the comments were. So across the board, with the exception of 4 programs, there was an area that we need more with science integration. So again, it goes back to the test scores. That is the one area that we do not have staffed. We partner with Rutland High School to contract for 1 course each year for chemistry, but we have a lot of areas of science that we definitely need some help with integration. So if you want to just kind of...
Before we go further, so in regards to the science, I was debating when I wanted to put this piece of my knowledge in. At our April program committee meeting, we talked about where we were going to use some funds, and we as a group had decided to go with hopefully hiring a science teacher. So can you just kind of elaborate on that for everybody else who wasn't a part of that conversation?
Absolutely. So one of the things, we have a lot of programs that obviously have embedded science content. If you think of health careers with anatomy and physiology, if you think of natural resources and forestry, where we're fortunate to have Mike Standard, who is a science teacher. But also when you look at engineering and physics and things like that, it is embedded within so many of our programs. And so like we're doing with our math, our English, and our social studies instructors, they are working to develop integrated projects. So they're looking at projects that are already done in program and looking at how can they enhance those and add more of an academic flair to really bring those academics alive for the students. And so the piece that we've been missing is the science. And so what we're looking to do is to bring somebody in to add to the integration team, but also to be able to teach some science courses for us that could be a flexible schedule. Our schedule does not align necessarily with Rutland High School the way they do their classes in all cases. We have some programs, Health Careers is the best example, where on our red and white day schedule, white days, they have to be completely free of all academic classes so that they can go out and do their clinical rotations. So they go and they head to a medical facility at 9:30 every morning, and they don't get back until 1:45. So for us to have academics on those days is really challenging. By having a full academic team, it gives us more control over the scheduling and ensuring that students are getting the high-level science courses that they sometimes cannot access, which sometimes is a decision maker as to whether they come to Stafford. On the surveys that we received for those students that chose not to attend Stafford, one of the largest reasons they chose not to attend Stafford is because of access to those higher-level classes. And so our hope is that if we're able to secure, I call it the unicorn of science teachers, because it's really hard to find a science teacher, but then to find one that's multidisciplined, it would just give us more flexibility and hopefully give students the courses that they need to get the transcript they need in order to get into the colleges that they're hoping for. So that's really what we're aiming for with that. I hope that addresses.
Yeah, I mean, because we had, yes, and so just to kind of a little bit further, and you can jump in, is there were some funds left over from Perkins and then a possible time grant, and the program committee, we did talk about, as you saw earlier, dental hygienist was one of the, more needed programs, but cost-wise and not knowing where we were at over the next year or two, the program committee went with kind of telling Melissa and Kate to use the money for a science teacher, because overall that's going to affect everything. A lot of our scores will, jump up significantly if we do have a science teacher.
And so the hope, and we'll get to near the end, is to use Perkins funding to fund a science teacher. Academic teachers can remain timelessly in the grant, unlike other areas that you have to rotate out over a 4-year period. So academic teachers can stay in there because they're impacting all programs. It's not one program specific. And then Stephanie alluded to another grant that it's a competitive grant. We've been very fortunate the last few years. It's called the Time Grant, and you can use that for equipment. It's time and innovation. So if you have an innovative project, you could use it for curricular needs, but you can also use it for equipment, which would be able to help fund the equipment needed for a science program. And so those grants are both due on May 22nd, and so I've been busy working on getting those prepared. Yes.
Herb has a question.
Herb.
You may have already mentioned this. The items in the first column, the one that's not in color, is the wording set by the AOE or?
Yes,
okay.
that comes straight from the Agency of Education.
Do you have any comment on whether they've always chosen the appropriate wording?
I try not to debate with the AOE as much as possible.
I was just looking, for example, at on the first page here, item F, designed to prepare students for success in the global economy and for global citizenship. And I'm just scratching my head how the public safety program would need to equip somebody for success in the global economy, for example.
Yeah, and it's something, these actually, it comes from the Agency of Education, but it also comes from the U.S. Department of Education and the federal grants. So I think there are probably some public safety programs that are probably doing more expansive things. If you look at a program in New York City versus a program in Vermont, it's probably very different. So I think they're trying to do something that encompasses any program that could possibly exist in the CT world in our country, so.
The dental hygiene thing, I didn't know if in the health careers program, is it a possibility to branch with that? Because I'm just thinking, like, when I went to UVM, I was with a lot of the nurses and physical therapists, and I did speak in Justine's room. I know there were some people who were thinking about it, so I didn't know there was a way to.
It is part of the same cluster, but the requirements, so I looked into when we were researching it, I reached out to the Agency of Education and the Vermont Dental Association to find out what the requirements. So the instructors we would have to have a different instructor because of different certification requirements. The lab space requirements are totally different.
Yeah.
And that's where, when we originally started, there was another tech center that was closing a program that had never gotten off the ground. So our hope was to be able to perhaps get some equipment at a discounted rate, but another tech center got dibs on it before we did, so we lost out on that. So we were hoping to maybe, have a
And it's like $500,000.
Oh, yeah, no, I know it's totally.
Jump in.
I didn't know
It's
if,
a
like,
huge startup
instead
cost.
of going to like a medical, they could go to I just wasn't
Yeah.
sure how.
Yeah, unfortunately, because of, they're called SIP codes that we teach to, dental is not part of that.
Got it.
So, and we don't have certified instructors to be able to send them out. We've sent students out on job shadows just so that they could experience it, but it could not be part of the curriculum at this time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
A question back on page, I guess it's 3, the first one that has the yellow highlighting. Does the AOE explain how they decide what the target ought to be?
So this doesn't really, it's very ambiguous. And so what we try to do as a faculty is we spend time in our professional learning committees really talking about what does that look like here at Stafford, and so that we kind of have a baseline for what we're expecting for each of these categories. So in some cases, it may be that we just kind of brush on it and touch on it. It may be other cases that we're saying that we expect a deeper dive. So it really depends on what the area is. But again, this process here, this is one that probably our faculty, what would you say, probably a month that we spend on this one section of there. And then again, it has to go to that program advisory committee for them to go through and review as well. And then it goes to the CLNA review team for them to review.
So how does the AOE, as far as you know, how does it set the goals for you?
So with this here, our teachers have twice a year, they have required meetings with the Vermont Agency of Education. And so Vermont Agency of Education reviews all of this, and then if there are concerns, then there are follow-up meetings with our program instructors. And so a lot of the times, I will be honest, the CTE team is very understaffed. Right now, we have 2 staff members that govern all of Vermont for career and tech ed. So I think they're really relying on the directors at the centers to really know what is expected and needed and to really focus on that and to make sure that we are meeting the standard and meeting the needs of our community. So
Maybe I'll let you finish your presentation before we go on with more questions. I just don't want to get too far in the weeds.
Okay. And then we can head to Kate.
So in addition to all the data that we review with our faculty, with program quality and equipment needs and community needs, we are required to survey our stakeholders. So that includes staff, students, partner schools, community members, families, parents, guardians. So Melissa does a nice job of, once she receives the final information on the surveys, to lead our faculty through a protocol to analyze the data on each survey. And then we discuss if we can find any common trends. And this year was nice because we have a 4-year comparison of the data. So you can see across the screen where we've done really well and areas that have kind of gone up and down and remain consistent also. So our first survey addresses the faculty and staff recruitment, and this is where we focus on professional development, student or staff needs, and how do we keep our amazing staff. So some of the highlights include our staff response. 97.1% of our staff reported enjoying working at Stafford, and 100% reported feeling that Stafford is committed to providing students with what they need to be successful. So all of this information helps guide us into future planning with the Perkins grant that Melissa's going to write basically overnight. So, and then in the second slide, we continue on with the professional development. And on the left-hand side of the screen is where we've been, what we've done in the last 2 years of this last CLNA cycle. And on the right is our planned professional development, where we want to head based on the results of our surveys from all of our stakeholders and the information that was gathered through labor market research, individual program research into their curriculum needs and equity needs. So we continue to do a lot of work, and then as daunting as this process is, it's nice to keep up with what the changing industry needs are and help our staff to remain current with that. This slide reviews the equity and access, so recruitment application process for our programs in our center. And our goal is to ensure that all students have access to, high quality career and technical education. And we do this through a variety of measures, but this in particular is reviewing our outreach and recruitment timeline. So by providing the equity or improving equity and access, we start really in August, welcoming our new students and then working with our partner schools to develop our timeline of when Melissa and Cindy Dunnigan, our outreach coordinator, will visit our partner schools and present to sophomore classes. And then we have career nights, and then in a signing night once the application process is done. And this year we reviewed 430-ish applications for 230 spots, 70 spots?
277 is what we have.
So we spend a lot of time together, and we do like each other, so that's helpful. But we want to make sure we're doing it right, and we're having the right students and the right programs for the right reasons. So part of this work, the review team looked at the application enrollment data, recruitment practices, our outreach efforts, and our admissions procedures, and how we can best support those special populations that Melissa mentioned in the future. So this one is our current student survey. So it's always fun and interesting to see what our students are saying about us. And overall, it's very positive. We want to make sure our students feel safe when they're in our building, they feel like they belong, and that we are developing a sense of community, not only as a center as a whole, but within each program. And I think that survey data does show that. So some highlights were 94.5% of students reported that they treat each other with respect. Almost 100%, 99.5 felt that they, or believe they felt safe at Stafford. And 98.6 reported feeling like members of the Stafford community. So when you bring in 12, or students from 11, 12 different partner schools, and they're on a rotation, every year to 2 years, I mean, we're proud of that data, because it's not overnight, but we do it fast and furious, because we lose our students once they complete the program. So our staff work really hard to create that environment. So this, Melissa mentioned this earlier, this is a survey data based on the students who do not participate in career technical education in our region. And like she had mentioned, this year's success was due to the paper copy surveys, which how often do you fill out a paper copy survey these days? But this time it worked. And we're really thankful for that, because we were able to get a lot of good information about workforce development or program needs that we might want to think about in the future. And any barriers to participation, whether it be needing those higher level academic classes, or wanting to stay as part of their partner school. And then last one is our parent guardian survey. So again, this was very positive. It mirrored a lot of what our student survey said. 98.6% of parents reported Stafford helps better prepare their child for a career. 94.3% reported their child is safe and healthy, is part of a safe and healthy learning environment. And also, parents highlighted the value of our hands-on learning experiences, our career preparation, the engaging staff, and opportunities beyond a traditional high school setting. So overall, our feedback we received was positive, and it did also provide some insight into where we want to go for the next cycle of this. So Melissa will now talk to where we're going.
So in looking at all of this, so then the job is to take all of this, and if Pam has seen it in my office, I have a binder of all the data that is probably yay thick.
It's a lot of binders.
And trying to really kind of pull all this together to figure out what are we going to put in for strategies within our Perkins plan, and where will we spend our funds. So some of the things that have been in there have been the academic curriculum integration, and that is proving successful for us. We've grown in our ELA and math scores, so we plan to continue that, with obviously science becoming a focus area. Our Tech Exploratory program, which is the first year that we've had that up and running, it is for 10th graders who are not sure. We will be continuing focusing our energy on that. And obviously career exploration and middle school outreach. Some of you may have seen our middle school outreach trailer around that was funded through Perkins. And so we're always looking for innovative ways to work with our middle schools to provide them, not necessarily Stafford recruiting. We call it little R recruiting, and then there's the big R recruiting. But just exposing them to the different careers and giving them the opportunities to come and explore those careers at Stafford. Our program of studies work, that is really looking at continuing to add more of those Tier 2 industry recognized credentials, including looking at expanding the college credit opportunities within our programs. So that's something. And then really looking at that special populations, particularly the non-traditional students, are as an area that we are required to focus on this next year to try to increase those. Beyond that, again, as we mentioned, new program offerings, but again, we're on hold right now until we figure out what's going on with our governance. And then beyond FY27, just thinking about potential new staffing. Right now we have one math instructor, and so we are seeing a need that in the next couple of years we may need to expand that. And then we are also seeing an increase in students on educational plans and higher needs, and so looking at potentially expanding to a second special ed instructor in that area. So one of the things, some of these things might happen, they might not. but the way it works is that we, for CTE, if it is not in our CLNA, we can never include it in a grant. So we put every possibility in our CLNA so that if 2 years down the road, 3 years, we have to show that it's not just a one-time CLNA need. It has to be over multiple CLNAs in order for it to be included in a grant. So we try to really be holistic in our approach and knowing that some things we may not get at. So that is a year's worth of work, and I apologize for the length. We'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have another quick question.
Sure.
I see that the instructor for Tech Exploratory Program is done at the end of this school year. Is it out and about that we're looking for a new person?
Yes, and we have some candidates that we're looking into, yes.
Great. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. So much work.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow morning.
You get to hear it again?
Indeed.
Yes, we do.
Superintendent's report.
Here we go. So I wanted to call attention to a memo that's in your packet from Bianca. The memo speaks to the approval of your continuous improvement plans for all of our schools that were included in your consent agenda. The memo does provide a summary of the requirements that are outlined by the Agency of Education, which requires your approval after we have checked in with our stakeholders to gather input, after we've considered our comprehensive needs assessment and our district plans. Also connected is a data inventory that's also included in the continuous improvement plans. They are required in order for us to draw down and to receive federal grant funds. Plans are evergreen in that they change as the AOE updates what's required, as well as the year progresses, unfolds, and we add information to them. So I just wanted to call attention to that memo because it does outline a lot of information about our continuous improvement plans. Stephanie brought up hiring. We are knee-deep in hiring. This is a very busy time for us. The building-based leaders, as well as Ara, our HR manager, have been hard at work securing the best candidates for our open positions. We are delighted to share that I'd say quite a few folks are relocating to Rutland to be able to accept our positions. Because housing, we know, can be a factor, Ara has been working to advertise as well as establish relationships with local landlords and property management organizations, kind of do some matchmaking. She sent an email out to staff, which has gleaned some referrals for housing, so we've had some good leads. We do have quite a few positions still open. I'm just going to highlight a few. We have a speech language pathologist that's district wide open, music teacher at RMS, a math teacher at the high school. We have a bus driver opening. We have educational support professionals or paraeducators. We have several openings for those. We do have the Tech Exploratory I was going to highlight at Stafford. We have a couple of classroom teacher positions and an interventionist position at RIS and Northwest. We have a bus aid position available, an alternative learning educator at the middle school, and still openings for summer tapestry and epic staff. In June, I'll also, in your consent agenda, I'll seek your approval for a summer hiring protocol, allowing us to continue that process over the summer without you having a regular meeting. And that's just traditional, but look for that next month. Last week we had staff appreciation throughout the district. Bianca, myself, and Carrie had a great time going out to all of our buildings and visiting with our staff to thank them personally for all that they do for our students and our community. We also worked with Mitchell's to be able to provide a coupon for staff to shop in our Rutland store for Rutland gear, which included a wide variety of priced items so that they could use the coupon and get something at no cost, or buy something else and still have that coupon. Our theme when we went around to our staff was a little something salty, a little something sweet. Having you on our team is a real treat. And thank you, Bianca, for hitting that one. And so we offered them sweet and salty treats. our parent-teacher organizations were instrumental in helping buildings celebrate at their within the individual buildings. And I just want to say that personally, I'm incredibly appreciative to all of our staff. They are creative, they are compassionate, they are hardworking, and they are talented. And I feel so blessed to be part of the team every day. Let's see, other items. I thanked IT. I also wanted to thank our maintenance and the staff at Longfellow for working on a long overdue project. If anybody's ever visited the attic at Longfellow, it has been filled with records that are ancient. We're talking 20-year-old boxes of information that can be shredded. So today, after some lead-in time and again some work by our Longfellow staff, we hauled out. Somebody take a guess how many boxes? Just take a guess.
Did you haul them out, or did they? I thought
We
I
had-
saw a security
we had
shred when I
yes,
drove by.
you're right. We had a chute.
It was so cool.
A good number of years ago, they had done the same. They'd cleaned out some of the upstairs. Peter, what was your guess?
Sure, it's low, but 30.
30. Anybody have another guess?
220.
220. That's a great guess. If you know, don't say. Anybody else?
368.
360. Keep going, guys. Keep going.
5.
About 700.
What's that?
500.
5, 7, 830.
Oh my God. Wow.
And there's about 100 left. And so I
It's
and
a pretty- it was
the only
pretty- it's pretty cool
the only
upstairs,
reason
though.
that we didn't give the 100 was because they had 2 of the massive secure trucks here today, which equals an 18-wheel tractor trailer, and it was so full they couldn't fit the remaining in. I texted Bill Olson today to say, hey, guess how many? And
What did he guess?
he guessed 175.
Come on, he did not.
And so he wondered, like, did the building come up?
Come up for air.
All that out. So imagine the weight upstairs. That was definitely a hazard. So we still have some more work to do. We're going to do some cleaning up there. We'll probably contract for someone to come in and do some cleaning up there. There's, bird remain. There's just stuff up there that needs to be cleaned out. And but it's been a long overdue project, and I feel good. Like getting up there and getting some of that done. I also wanted to share that I talked with Jean Collins. Bianca and I met with Jean Collins today. We talked about kind of establishing a work plan for our monitoring reports and what that could look like and what's a smooth rollout for our monitoring reports. We also talked about her working with the board again on our self-evaluation process, as well as what our first meetings can look like. She's available to come in August. If we were to shift our August board meeting, we usually meet on the 4th Tuesday, but if we were to meet on the 3rd Tuesday, she could be here with us to do that training. So that's something that I would just put out to all of you if that's a possibility. And that concludes my report. And if anybody ever wants a tour of the attic, it's it's a beautiful place. Yeah.
Perfect. Before or after the bird cleanup?
Yeah, right.
It's up to you.
Listen,
Not that
going
bad.
in
I
there,
like
going in there when there was all 800 and something box, it was amazing. I literally could have stayed up there all day, even with the bird poop. It's
beautiful.
It's pretty amazing.
Just one question. Do we have any progress on getting our meetings in the events section of the Rutland Herald?
I will follow up with Kayla Battles, the administrative assistant. I had talked with her about investigating what would need to be done.
All right. Board report. This is just a report regarding the training that we had. So we're pretty much familiar. I'd like to provide a brief summary of the intensive work the Board of School Commissioners conducted during our special meetings on May 2nd and May 5th. Since October 25, this board has been engaged in professional development to transition towards a policy governance model. This shift clarifies our role, moving us away from operational management and focusing our efforts on 3 core pillars: ownership linkage, policy development, and policy monitoring. During our 2 sessions facilitated by consultant Jeannie Collins, we meticulously reviewed and drafted a new policy manual organized into 4 critical sections. The first section is called Ends, where we finalize language that incorporates our portrait of a graduate and sets high-level goals for student achievement. The second section is executive limitations. We refine the boundaries within which the superintendent operates, with a specific focus on financial components and asset protection. The third section is board management delegation. We clarified how the board delegates authority to and holds the superintendent accountable. The fourth and last is the governance process. We updated our job description. This includes our responsibility to advocate for legislative change, present the annual budget for public vote, and manage the expenditure of surplus funds and long-term reserves. To ensure our meetings remain efficient and focused on these goals, we agreed to remove old and new business from future agendas, utilizing a consent agenda and a work plan instead. We also strengthened our bylaws regarding conflicts of interest to ensure full transparency in our deliberations. All of these revisions have been incorporated into a comprehensive document. This draft was presented to the board and the public for a first reading tonight. We are excited about this transition as it allows the board to govern more effectively on behalf of the Rutland City community while ensuring our schools remain legally and morally focused on student success. So, in light of that, we do have our board policies here for first reading. Do we need a motion for that?
Right, you
need a motion to go into first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries?
If there's discussion or anything that people know, I will say that I found an error that I know that you're going to want changed in the first reading before it passes. And that's on page 4. It's under 2.3 financial conditions and activities. And it's regarding, so it's 2.3.13 and .14. So it says that the superintendent shall not, and then number 13 is, shall not report on surplus revenues if any. Shall not fail to provide, or shall not provide a quarterly fiscal update. I think you want that to say that I shall not fail to report. So with both number 13 and 14, I think you wanted to say fail to, and then the rest of the sentence.
Okay, so, do we need to redo our,
Yeah, we should have.
without,
Should have asked
so,
for discussion
a motion,
first, yeah.
okay. Is there any other discussion? Herb?
A couple of little changes on pages, first of all, page 6, halfway down the page, 2.8.1. I thought we agreed that would start neglect to submit monitoring data and any interpretation, so that superintendent didn't feel she was obliged to interpret everything, even if she thought it was perfectly clear.
I remember that. Are we okay with putting that in there? Any interpretation?
Trying to pull up my notes, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember the discussion. I thought we decided not to put it in.
Do you have a, are you
I don't have
against
my
it?
notes.
I'm looking.
It says, but the superintendent shall not neglect to submit monitoring data and any interpretation as required by the board in board management delegation policy.
I had one other change. Page 12, 4.4.
Let me get them focused
Oh,
on this one,
okay.
just for a second. Everybody,
And any necessary interpretations is what I have written down on
Yeah.
that sheet. Yeah,
Yeah.
necessary.
necessary.
Okay. Are we, any discussion on that one? We're talking about 2.8.1.
So we would add the words "and necessary."
Any necessary.
And any necessary, so add any necessary.
I'm wondering if the conversation was what is considered necessary, but if it doesn't change the context of it, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I think the reason that you originally, that it was added was the thought that I wouldn't have to give an interpretation on everything if it wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
That you would only want my interpretation if it was necessary.
Yeah. Sounds reasonable.
It sounds right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Herb, what was your second one?
Page 12, 4.4, board chairs row, the unnumbered paragraph halfway through says assures the integrity. I think it should be ensures the integrity.
Which one again?
It's 4.4, unnumbered, first sentence. Says the board chair, especially empowered board member of the board. I think it should be ensures, not assures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Good catch.
Any discussion on that one? Okay, so as revised, Herb?
So I'll make a motion that we revise, what are we calling this?
First reading of
Right,
Policy.
as revised by the group today.
Yeah, that we
have a-
revise what we're really here, what we're working with here to include superintendent's 2 corrections, and then the 2 that I just brought up.
Got it.
So inclusive of the corrections we've made tonight, do we have a motion to accept the amended or revised?
So moved.
Policies? All in favor?
Aye.
And you just, motion carries. We're all set. All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Hold on.
Just a question, because we are adopting this, are the liaisons for athletics and activities and for the schools now obsolete?
No, those are still intact. The liaisons and the school reps are still,
And what, just as a new member, what does a school liaison do?
You know what's great about that question? Is that a building leader last week asked the same question, like, what is the responsibility of the board? There is nothing in writing, but we can craft something.
So I'm having trouble imagining some role that doesn't conflict with policy governance.
It's a good point.
I will keep that in mind. And,
Well, with Stafford, isn't it required that we have a school board member on?
On our regional advisory board,
Yeah.
yes, we have to have a school board member from each of our partner districts.
I think there'll be other things we'll encounter along the way in the next few months too that we'll be tweaking, right? I mean, as we really,
right,
we can maybe start a list of things to
Things
talk
that we
about,
need
right?
to-
You know,
Right, can ask,
yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Discuss, so.
I think the difference probably is that the liaison has typically been like a connection, but not necessarily a governing body. Like they're not, you're not asked questions to make decisions or even input on things from the building, but it's kind of including you in.
maybe there are events that they're
Yeah.
holding and keep you aware of maybe some of the fun things that they're doing, that building. and
Which we
share
do
it
with the
group.
board.
Yeah.
But wouldn't the whole board want to know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was a way to just build connections, I think, at the time. But maybe it doesn't fit anymore. Motion to,
The pension committee is one that
Oh,
we
that's different.
definitely want to
Yeah.
stay on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole different kettle of fish.
It's a good point, Herb.
definitely.
Things to consider as we officially adopt maybe at the next meeting.
Right. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion, yeah.
Aye.
All in favor?